Hey, have you ever felt like God was calling you to do something? You had this feeling, this urge to get involved somewhere, uh, like this whisper in your ear that said, "Hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you call so and so? Why don't you get involved in this ministry? Why don't you help this food kitchen? Why don't you?" Right? And in our mind, we start to go, "Oh yeah, man, that would be really cool," and then we start to question, "Oh man, is that me? Is that just me saying that? Is that just me thinking that I should do something?" And I mean, I really don't know how to do these things. I really don't know how to be involved in this. I'm not prepared. I'm not trained. I don't know. Right? And our mind makes up an excuse after an excuse after an excuse, and then we don't do it. We decide, we make the decision. Oh no, I can't do that. That's ridiculous. God can't be using me in that way. I mean, that's not me. Well, let me say this. All right, God does not always call those who think they know it all. God does not always call the most educated. He doesn't call the smartest. He doesn't call the best athlete or the prettiest or the handsomest, or right? He calls those who are willing to hear the call and obey. I mean, sometimes we think, well, I'm just not prepared. I don't have the experience to do it. Well, let me say this. I think sometimes we shortcut ourselves. We short circuit ourselves because God has prepared us. David was a shepherd, right? And David, he comes up and he's bringing some food to his brothers on the front lines, and Goliath is out there and he's taunting the Hebrews and the Israelites, and he's saying, your God's a piece of business, and I could whip all of you, and if anybody comes out here, I'll kill you and chop your head off, and right, all this great stuff. And David's like, man, how come nobody's fighting this guy? And everybody's like, oh, dude, look at the size of this guy. He's gigantic. He's 9 foot tall. He's got a sword, and the head of his sword weighs like 13 pounds. It would like chop your head off, and nobody wants to fight this guy. And he goes to Saul, and he says, hey, Saul, I'll go fight this guy. And Saul's like, dude, you're like a little kid. Are you kidding me? And he says, I'm going to tell you something. God prepared me for such a time as this, all right? I have killed the lion and the bear with my sling, and I will kill this giant in the same way. Right? This is a little kid who has been prepared for this moment by being a shepherd, protecting sheep from lions and bears. And now he's ready to face a giant because he's been prepared in a whole different realm of his life. Maybe God has already prepared us for what he's calling us to do in some other area of our lives, and we just don't realize it at this point. Will we hear the call of God, and will we obey the call, thinking and relying on him to have already prepared us for such a time as this? May God continue to pour out his grace, mercy, and blessings on each and every one of us until we get to meet again. Amen. Amen.